friends. Hello, how are you? I am going to do a flip through of my dye book today because I have lots and lots of questions about what's in there. And the easiest thing to do is to say, yes, there's a lot of things in here. And just to show you, this came out on June 10th. It's been out for a few days. I know a lot of people have pre ordered it. And thank you. Thank you to everyone who's bought the book so far. And if you've been thinking about buying the book, I hope this answers some of the questions that you've had and makes you want to buy the book. All right, so I'm just going to do kind of a quick go through. So we have foraging and growing, preparing and mordanting. There's multiple types of mordants in here. I do tannin and aluminum acetate. I do just tannin. I do aluminum acetate with a chalk bath. So it's basically different fibers, right? So cellulose fibers are good with some mordants, and then protein fibers are better suited for other mordants. And aluminum triformate is one of my favorite mordants to use for silk and wool, just because it's really, really simple and you can use like very cool water, and it's easy. It's easy and wonderful. And then alum, the method of dyeing that I do, which I call the folk method because it's based on sort of medicine making in folk medicine and how you used to just sort of gather, and it's more of an intuitive way, and it's very, very easy and just takes a little bit of practice, and you can be kind of spontaneous and like seasonal. So, and I live in Northern California, and I'm very lucky to have plants all basically all year round. I can go out and find something to do dye work with, and I know not everybody can, but I think after seeing this book and seeing the color library, you'll realize how many more plants that you have available to you to use as to create color, to create natural color. Sort of like the traditional way that everybody uses to do dye work, modifiers and changers, how iron can affect depending on how long you leave it in the iron. Um, I have a bit about color theory and building your color library and mixing colors. This is a really, I think, a really fun section. Not good for beginners, but once you've done a little bit of dye work and you become more comfortable, it's really, really fun to start mixing colors. And I talk about how you can do it just by over dyeing or by mixing um, solutions together rather than over dyeing. So, and then I also use different, so I use like a white linen, a mixed linen, and a natural linen to also expand your color range. There's 47 colors using just two dye plants. And of course, you can get way more than that. That's just, a book page is only so big. There's also a section in here about your dye journal and different ways you can create a dye journal, and some of my favorite ways to record keep and use a dye journal. I also talk about to how to create a code so that it's really easy for you to keep track of your experiments and what you've done so that you can repeat. Um, Even color mixing, like I have a really great way to keep track of how to remember all the steps that you did by using color stitch markers for knitting and crocheting. Yeah, I won't go into it because it's kind of a lot, but yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then of course the color library is my absolute favorite, and I spent so much time doing this, and I hope you really love it. And yeah, this is yeah, this is my baby. Um, so in the library, I have 75 different natural dyes that I've used. Um, Two bugs, one mushroom, and flowers, seeds, bark, roots. Both ones you can forage, you can grow, and ones that you can find online, like the commercial natural dyes that we all order and are used to using, like cochineal. And then the fabric swatches range from silk, linen gauze, cotton, mixed linen, natural linen, and then of course white linen. And there's a different variety in each sample group, and it tells you percentages to use to get different like different depth of color, like light, medium, and dark. And then yeah, yeah. Okay, so cochineal coastal redwood cones, which you can actually you can get redwood dye from Maywa in Canada. I have a really good resource. I've got a good resource page that lists places where you can get a lot of dyes. Like, say if you don't live in a forest like I do and can't walk out the door and gather redwood cones. And I do have a lot of native plants, like California native plants, but I also have like a huge span of other plants, and a lot of plants that I can gather can be gathered all over the place. We have one of those climates here where things grow all year round. So I have an amazing wealth of plants to use. Okay, lac, nutsedge, horsetail, moonjeet, which is Indian madder, manzanita bark, Dyer's alkanite. This is one of two dyes that I have that need to be dissolved in a little bit of alcohol because it's not water soluble. So at least to get the beautiful purple color. Kutch, logwood, madder, quebracho, black wattle. If I mispronounce something, my apologies. Silver wattle, which is super invasive in my area and makes a great color, especially the seed pods. I love the color. The leaves make varying shades of yellow depending on the time of year that you gather it. Purple Cromwell. This is the other shikon, also known as shikon. This is the other one that needs to be dissolved in a small amount of alcohol. Sappanwood, apple leaves, African marigolds. You can use these dried or fresh. I'm going to point out a mistake. It's on page 93, and it's Japanese silvergrass. It says Amur silvergrass. I don't know how it got missed, but it got missed, and so apologies. But yeah, so this is Japanese silvergrass, buckthornberry, coastal live oak. And I have several oaks in here, and they're all the oaks that are native to my area, but oak trees grow everywhere. And they're amazing because you have acorns and you have leaves. I haven't died with the bark because we haven't lost a tree, like a tree hasn't fallen down, so I haven't been able to gather like the inner bark to see the color that it makes. Incense cedar, Dyer's chamomile, French marigold. Also, you can grow them. They can be fresh, they can be dried. Doug fir. This is wonderful. So these tend to fall down in my area during storms, and a big, huge one fell down, and I was able to get some of the inner bark, and then this is from the cones. And then you can get kind of a pale yellows and creams from the needles. So it's a good one because you can use different parts of the tree to produce different colors. Safflower, fustic, pomegranate rinds, coreopsis, yummy, yummy, yummy. Amur cork, hawthorn. Hawthorn, I love hawthorn. There's a few dyes that I really, 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 really love. Hawthorn is definitely one of them. If you have a hawthorn tree, make friends with it. They are such magical, beautiful, beautiful trees. And you get the best color later on, like I'd say late summer, early fall, definitely late summer. And these are not even all the colors you can get. I don't know if you can see those. You can get more colors than this. It's also a little bit pH sensitive. but you can also create these colors depending on how long you've been sort of steeping the leaves. So yeah, if you have hawthorn leaves, you are lucky. Beautiful heart magic. Um, Kuchinashi, this is gardenia pods, Japanese pagoda tree, Himalayan rhubarb, Pacific madrone, this is the bark, um, yellow onion skin, Tanner's sumac, loquat leaves, another one of like my absolute favorite dyes to use. And loquats grow lots and lots of places. Generally not where it's going to get super cold, but and then you can use these leaves dry. You just don't get you get more like terracotta colors. You can get darker colors than this, and you don't have to use a mordant because there's enough tannin. That's I don't think I remembered to mention that. For all the ones that you have to use a mordant, they're mordanted. For the dyes that you don't necessarily have to use a mordant, there are samples of unmordanted and mordanted to show the different colors you can get. Sourgrass, sulfur cosmos, calendula, paracone. This is another one of my favorites. Just the smell of this. So this is a traditional dye, and it's native to Mexico and Central America, and it's used a lot in Oaxaca. And it and you can it's medicinal in the fact that people make tea out of it and use it to cook with, and it smells incredible. This I just like I grow this plant and I just like touching it because I can smell it. It's a good one. If you can grow it, wonderful. If you can get it dried and use it, also wonderful. You can get more vivid yellows as well. Yamamo, Weld, lovely, wonderful. Wild cherry bark. This is another great one if you can get the inner bark. That you can, depending on how long you've sort of soaked the chips and heated them, you can get stronger and stronger colors. Fennel, black hollyhock. So I have Southern California black walnut. The tree that we have got cut down, and so I can't actually determine whether or not it was a Southern or a Northern California, because there are specific black walnut trees just to California, but there's also black walnut trees everywhere. And there's not a huge difference in the Southern and the Northern black walnut trees. It's, I think, mostly the height, but again, just in case there is, because English walnuts produce a very different color. So that's kind of why I'm explaining that. So these are the leaves on mordanted and unmordanted, and then these are the husks. And if you use the husks when they're green, you get much, much, much better color. And the catkins also work as a dye. Bracken, this is another fun one to use because depending on what time of year you gather it, whether it's, and I'm talking when it's green, different times of year, like compared to like the spring to the summer to the late summer before it dies off, you can get sort of silvery greens, and then more sort of brown tones. So it's a fun one. This of course is chlorophyll, which is an extract from white mulberry leaves. Yarrow, this is our native yarrow. Actually, they're both native. We've got native white and native yellow. But yeah, yarrow is a great one. It also is super high in tannin, so you can use it sort of to use in combination with like aluminum acetate or alum and then dye over it. So if you've got like white yarrow, you can use it basically as a tannin. Purple smoke bush, you can also get a similar color if you have those, I think of them as ornamental purple plum trees. Mugwort, another one of my favorites to use. Silk tree, which a lot of people also think of as mimosa or albiza. It is medicinal. The little flowers are used for medicinal Chinese medicine. And then we have stinging nettle. This is another good example of one that you get two different colors. I like the colors you get later on. So this was harvested in May, and this is harvested in August. So you can see that there's a big difference. St. John's wort, another one of my favorites, because it's another medicinal plant, and it grows everywhere. And actually, I'm starting to see it bloom now. It usually blooms around the solstice. So you can keep your eyes peeled for the summer solstice, and you will be able to find St. John's wort. Here we have, this is California black oak, leaves and acorns, curly dock. We have the roots and then seeds and leaves. It's another one depending on the time of year. Dieball mushroom, this is the only mushroom because our rainy season wasn't timed right with when my book deadline was, so that was the only mushroom I could include. Beaked hazelnut leaves, holly leaves, English walnut. So these are English walnut husks, and these are the leaves, so very, very different from black walnuts. I love walnuts they're really, really good. If you have a walnut allergy, I do not know if you really should be using them. So that's another thing. If you're allergic to plants, be careful. Sheep sorrel, that's another thing I talk about in the book too, is just when you're going out and foraging, to be super mindful about what you may be allergic to, because you will be surprised. Indian mangrove, cherry obstacle. This, if you have the opportunity to work with this, it's an incredible, incredible dye. And make sure that you buy it from one that's been stamped by the Forest Stewardship Council, because it's really important to protect these trees. So these have been dipped in iron afterwards, and this is without iron. I actually have a video on how to start your dye bath, because it takes a month for the color to develop. It's really, really fun. I actually want to make a new video because I have a giant copper pot now. I think it's actually a brass pot. But I want to, I want to try that out again, because I just used copper pieces for this. Juniper, Japanese persimmon. So this is actual kakishibu liquid that I bought from Japan online. And these are dipped in iron, and these are not dipped in iron. And then I also talk about there's different amounts of dipping. So the lighter colors is like 1 dip, and there's 2 dips, 3 dips, 5 dips. So there's that. Tan oak, myrobalan, oak galls, one of my first natural dye loves. This is another one too that you can use to, in addition to an aluminum salt, to make a stronger, stronger mordant. Blue gum, eucalyptus. We have the bark and the leaves. These are another one that are really affected by the amount of moisture, the time of year that you gather them, mostly in the strength of the dye. Chestnut, tea. We've got green tea, black tea, pu'er tea. This is Tara, which is a perfectly clear tannin. I really like to use it with iron because I like the gray that it makes. Arroyo willow, this is a native willow, but any willow leaves will work. And then we've got our glossary and a picture of my studio, and then all the suppliers and resources and useful things. Okay, so that is my book, and that was a really long video. And thank you to anybody who stuck it out to the end. I will put links to my book in the description box, and I hope you enjoy the book. I hope that gave you a good idea of what is in the book, and I'll see you soon. Bye.